Hello everybody, welcome to my tutorial today. Today we are going to talk about how to call a flow from your Lightning experience, your Lightning record page. What I mean by that is in Salesforce Classic we used to have buttons on a record page. This is my claim record page and we have different actions here. So few of them are Lightning flows. So today we are going to see what are the different ways to call these flows from your record page. So here I have the Salesforce developer documentation. I will drop a link below in the description if you want to read it out and make yourself comfortable with this. So there are multiple ways to call a flow from your record page. I will go through, I think, three of them. So the first one and the easiest one which comes to my mind, or which is the easiest one because we have been used to it from Salesforce Classic, is using the URL. So before that, let me warn you that distributing a flow using URL is very limited when it comes to Lightning interface, because even though you're able to, let me show you. So this is my flow. So I have a simple basic flow. I wouldn't say it's basic. All right. So it is a flow which basically asks few questions and update a record on that, update a field on that record page basically. So that's my flow. All right. Um, Now I have created all the different types of actions for that flow on the page. When I use a URL, it's flow slash submit to TPA, that's my flow name, and I'm passing the claim ID, which is my flow variable, and the return URL. This is where it gets tricky. So if your flow is very basic and you are not expecting any finished behavior, then you can safely go for the calling the flow using URL, which is the basic one. So when you are on your flow, you have your URL right here. So what you could do is directly call this, copy paste this on the button. So you go to your button links and action, create new buttons, type its URL, and then you paste that URL here and then pass the values. Now let me show you how it works. I have it here, submit to TPA URL. And besides not having a flow finished behavior, it kind of opens a new window or a new display depending on what you select on your button display behavior. It opens up a new window or a same window, and then if you click finish, it always takes you to the home page because that's what I have set up on the behavior. If I go to my flow behavior, I have set up home.jsp. Now, the reason I have set up home.jsp instead of one.app is because if your users are not Lightning enabled, they will get an error. That's why I have home.jsp. So it respects your users' settings. So if they are in Lightning, it's going to redirect them to the home page of Lightning, and same as in Classic. All right. So if you read this documentation very quickly, you'll find out that the flow finish behavior is very limited in terms of Lightning. So I encourage you to go through this documentation. If you have any ideas on how to redirect the flow behavior when it comes to the finish behavior, please drop your comments below. I did try, but I haven't been able to figure that out yet. So I encourage you to drop your ideas. All right, so the next one is Lightning calling the flow using our flow action, which is still in beta. So create a flow action. This is my favorite one, but it does have limitations, of course, because it's in beta. So that is expected. There are very limitations on that. The reason it's easy is because it's honestly very easy to create an action. So all you do is new action, right? And you can name, so when you go to new action, custom Visualforce page, lightning component, and there is one more called flow, which is beta. And then when you click that, it will show all of the flows, whichever are available on your in your org basically. So these are all the flows, and you can name it and add it to your layout. I already did that, so let me show you um, how it looks like. Now, as you can see, when I was creating that lightning action using the flows, it didn't give me an opportunity to pass any variable, right? So that is the only problem, which is a major problem right now, because if there are more than one variables you'd like to pass to your flow, you will not be able to do that. So that's why, along with that, you can't define a flow finish behavior as well. So what happens is when I click on, I think this is the one, it opens up a nice pop-up window, which is great. I like this feature, right? And click next and finish, right? And it looks like it does work. All right, it's really gonna look like it works and everything is fine. The problem with that is it doesn't actually check any other fields. So there is no way you can pass any other fields variables. So if your flow is a very simple one and you're only passing the ID and you don't need to check any values on the record, then definitely use this flow action, and it will save you a lot of time rather than creating a Visualforce page or creating a component. I think this is the best, and I'm pretty sure hopefully there will be more enhancements to this feature. Um, so that's flow action, which we saw just now, very straightforward. But if you are planning to use this, make sure you do a lot of testing, because while I was using this, I came across a lot of issues. It didn't work as expected at some scenarios. So please do a lot of testing when you use the flow action, since it is in beta. Um, next one. Next one is nothing lightning specific, but it is a Visualforce page. I am not going to show you how to create the Visualforce page, but what I do want to point out is in my org, we use Visualforce page because we wanted to have our own look and feel to the flow rather than, and also have a more recorded, more flexible finish behavior. So that is why we created Visualforce page. So that will look like something like this. So this is our own Visualforce page. It is obviously Lightning style right now, and this is how it looks like. Since this record already has yes on this claim. Um, Otherwise, it'll ask you a bunch of questions, and that's how it looks like basically, the Visualforce page. Now, the reason I don't like this a lot is because, again, it doesn't have that window pop-up feature, right? You cannot do that here. It's just gonna open a brand new page with all the information or all the questionnaires, and you can click next. If your org is using your own style sheets and your own Visualforce page, you do not need to change anything basically, because Lightning supports it. So if you have a Visualforce page already, if you have a flow which is already embedded in a Visualforce page, all you need to do is try to style that Visualforce page using Lightning SLDS, and you should be good to go. So and then you can call your Visualforce page from the action and call your flow like that from your record page. So the last one, which I'm going to focus on, is creating a flow component. Sorry, creating a lightning component for your flow. So it is very similar to creating a Visualforce page and embedding your flow. So if you haven't done or created any Visualforce page using flow, please go through this documentation. It has really good information and examples, and you know, to help you out in that regards. So talking about the custom lightning component. All right, so let me first show you how it looks like as compared to other components. So this is my lightning component. Do you see the difference here? Now when I click on that, it says submit TPA field is already yes on this claim. Do not worry about the details of this flow. Just worry about it actually is checking the claim record and it's telling me that it is already yes, blah blah blah, right? Now the reason I'm asking you to notice that is because when I go to my other action, which was lightning beta, what happened was it doesn't know that it is already yes in this record, and it still asks me the questions. This is not expected. It shouldn't ask me this, right? And it doesn't tell me that it's already done, you know. Now that is why I had to build this flow component. Now, all right, enough of demo. Let's go to the code of that. And also the code is available on this page on the documentation, and it's very nice. It has all the code you will need for creating that component. I'm just going to show you as an example. So you can start from creating a new lightning component, right? And then it will create all these different component controllers and the whole bundle for you, right? Now in the component, all you need to do is you have to select available for record home, obviously. This one has record ID because you'll need that, and lightning quick action. While creating, you can check those boxes and this will be available by default. So once you do that, next is aura handler init. So this is like the first line most of the components have, because this is kind of triggering the controller here, init. So it kind of asks this controller to fire this event, fire this function. So we need that for most of the components, and this part is the one which you need to focus on, where lightning flow. All right, so this is a component available for us when you're creating a lightning component, right? Lightning flow or ID. So this could be anything, whatever you like. On status change, I'll show you what all this means, but for now just remember flow data is a variable you will need to define. It's an ID, it could be anything. And then once you are done with that, we're going to go to our controller. Here's where main logic exists. All right, now the init function has basically what it is doing is we're creating a variable, and then we're saying component.find flow data. This flow data is same as this flow data, right? Now what it is doing is component.find flow data, so that is in the flow variable. And always the component needs some input variables, right? If you go here on the documentation, it says there are two steps to it. You set the variable values and then you get the variable values, and then you control the finished behavior. That's what we are doing here. Okay, so input variables, I'm naming it input variables, and then there are three different three fields to it, which is it's like a JSON parameter we're passing. Name is claim ID, where type as object, value component dot get v dot record ID. Now v dot record ID is actually out of the box. What happens is anytime you implement your flow to force has record ID, the v dot record ID is available for you. So whatever the page the component is on, it has the record ID for that component, for that record. So it is available by default when you are building a Lightning component. As object, it's just as object type claim ID var. Now what is that? That comes from your flow. If I go to my flow, because we are setting that value for your flow. So while it loads, give it a minute, second. So when this is the first element, and this is where we are saying to the flow claim ID var. All right, so that is the value we need to pass. So that value, so this comes from your flow. All right, this is very important. This comes from your flow, name, type, value. So we are passing, so we are defining the input variables in this line. And now once you define the input variable, what are we going to do? We're going to submit it, or we are going to input it to your flow. So this is flow, this same one. So we are first finding that component, right? And flow.start flow, starting the flow. This is the name of the flow, and then we are passing this input variable there. That's it. That's the first step. So this is it. Once you are done here, it is going to call the flow. Now, what is handle status change? This is basically to finish the flow. So if I don't have this line, the flow is going to just keep revolving. So you finish and it's going to stay there because we haven't defined it yet. So we're going to control the flow finish behavior. So if we go back to the component, we are saying ID is flow data on status change. So when anytime the status is changed, or this is also available for Lightning Flow component. So on status change, I'm just calling this handle status change. You could name it anything you want, and the same name should be available in the controller, because C dot always defines the controller functions. So this one. Now what we're doing here, we're saying if event dot get param status equal to finished, this is available for that particular function, finished. Then we are saying output var component dot get v record ID. So I am basically, what I'm saying is, after finishing this flow, stay on that same record page. You could do anything you want here. If you wanted to send it back to the home page or any other record, you will have to basically query that record ID in a controller and then pass it there. So anywhere you want. So in terms of flexibility, this is really flexible. You will need to do some coding, but it is very flexible in terms of your flow finish behavior, which we saw earlier that it was a major limitation for two of the different ways. So after that, URL event, and then we do e.force navigate to as object. This is like this, it is available out of the box. We just use it. What it does is, as it says, navigate to as object, you can navigate to that as object by setting up the parameter. So for this URL event, we are setting the parameter, this one, output var. So we are saying go to this record ID as object page. And then if this is true, if this is finished, if the status is true, fire this event. All right. Um, so after this is done, it's going to fire this, and that's what we wanted to do. Now, this is still work under progress because I'm still uh, trying to enhance certain features for this, but I wanted to share with you everybody who is trying to call your flows from your lightning pages, and I'm really looking forward to get some ideas from everybody here who is watching these videos, and uh, your comments are always welcome, and let me know if you have any questions. I will post this code and the link for this developer documentation in the description below. Thank you so much. This was a long video, but I hope you are having a great Christmas and New Year time. Happy New Year.